missed. We're so glad you could join us this week for week 4, I think. Is this week 4? It might be 5. I don't remember.
It's 5.
I think it is 5. You're right. We're on the home stretch now. I am so glad you could join us in our 7-week series about films that we have missed and that we want to share with one another. As always, I am joined with Kat, Riley, Daniel, and JT. Welcome, everybody.
Hello.
For those of you who are joining us for the first time, Movies You Missed is a series, a 7-week series that we're doing where we are sharing stories that mattered to us. Kat and I have not been able to pick films post 2000, the year 2000, and Riley, Daniel, and JT could not pick movies before the year 2000. The rules were simple. Kat and I had to pick films that none of them have seen. So some of the picks may be a little unlikely, but they are films that none of the three of them had seen. And for the others, they had to pick something that at least one of Kat and I had not seen, because we figured we a lot of the same things that they've seen, we may have done that. This week we're talking about drama, and we each brought our own picks. Kat and I picked The Truman Show, but Daniel, why don't you tell us what film you brought to us this week?
Sure. So for our pick for drama, we decided to go with The Pursuit of Happyness. Pursuit of Happyness came out in the early 2000s. I believe it was 2006. And it is a biographical drama. It stars Will Smith, and he's playing a character named Christopher Gardner, or Chris Gardner, who is a homeless salesman. He ends up trying to go for an interning position at a stockbroker, I think, is what it was called. His wife ends up leaving him and his son, so they're really trying to make the best of the situation.
Great.
Is it very cool?
Yes.
I can't wait to hear Kat's feelings on this film. Why did the three of you want to pick The Pursuit of Happyness? Why don't you tell us about what it is about this movie that made you want to share it with us?
The Gemini Man was in it.
What's that?
The Gemini Man was in it.
My God.
Gemini Man was in it.
Oh, you said Jimmy Neutron, and I was like, what?
Deleted scenes. Jimmy Neutron actually played the son.
The boy genius? That tracks.
I don't know. It's inspiring, I think. It is like, I guess, a 1 in a billion kind of story too of this guy. Like going from such low, like, poverty and homelessness, and then through like perseverance and talent, and especially during those times as a black man doing a finance job, so like just everything against them, and in an expensive city too, just beat out all the competition, and then the American dream is, get rich, like go from nothing and becoming rich. So him achieving that was, I think, really inspiring for, well, I guess really anyone watching. And it's a cool story, and it was real too. Yeah, and the real guy, Chris, is, and I'm sure, I guess depending on how you view like capitalism and stuff, you might not care for it, but he's worth $70 million now, and going from homeless and like sleeping in a subway washroom is a very big difference. And it's I guess it's just inspiring, like, oh hey, he did it in the worst scenario possible, like why can't I do it? Or just with hard work.
I remember watching this movie in grade 9 English. I would believe was where I watched it. And I remember enjoying it. I remember having the exact same feelings then as I did now. Was that I know we talked about this right after we watched it, but that it is a very like sort of like surface topical type film. But I do remember really enjoying it, and for the fact that it is like a true story, right? Like it is this person's actual life, and then we actually get to see him at the end, which is kind of cool in that like one little scene where he's like walking behind the Gemini Man. So I don't know. I really liked it. It was kind of like a tug at your heartstrings type inspiration movie. But I really liked it because like you're kept so tense for the entire movie of like wondering like whether this guy is going to be able to pull this off, right? Whether he's going to be able to support him and his son throughout all of this. And it just seems to just be getting worse and worse and worse as the movie goes on. And it doesn't really seem like there's a way out until like literally like the last like 10 minutes. And I don't know, I really, really liked it. And I liked the sort of suspense that you were kept in and that you didn't know whether the guy was going to make it or
not. Yeah, I also first watched this movie, I want to say around grade 9 as well. Maybe grade 8, like somewhere definitely around there. I was like, I guess early teen. I know that I definitely watched it for a class, so I definitely went in kind of expecting it to be just one of those like mainly kind of educational based movies, because you know a lot of teachers, unless they're showing a movie at like, you know, a class party or something, it's normally some sort of like educational based movie. I guess depending on your teacher.
I mean, in grade 10 English, as soon as we finished watching the Leonardo DiCaprio, like modern Romeo and Juliet movie, I gave up on teacher showing educationally sound movie.
Oh yeah, now you're talking.
But yeah, so like I kind of expected it to be some sort of like not a real, you know, this is a movie you would go watch in like a theater, like that sort of thing. It's something that, you know, you would just watch in a classroom. But I really enjoyed the movie. You know, I had seen movies with like Will Smith before, TV shows and everything, so I kind of knew his character, mainly for being like a comedic presence. Like, you know, I know Will Smith mainly from like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. So like, you know, comedy was what I really knew him as. So seeing him in this kind of position where it's dramatic, it's sad, it's, you know, yeah, there were a few little jokes in it, but it was in no way a comedy movie. I think for me, that's kind of what really got me, was that, you know, he pulled it off really well and it was very believable, at least in my eyes. Like it honestly didn't even really seem like acting. He seemed like what Chris Gardner was going through was what he was actually going through. And also what I like about it is that it ties in some other genres, like what I mentioned. Like it had some comedic points, some action points, but it was never like, there was never a time where I was like, oh, maybe this is supposed to be like a drama action or a dramedy. Like there was never that sort of like, they're trying to bridge it into other genres of movie. It was always it's always been a drama to me. But they kept it realistic, because even though you might be going through like a really tough time, you can still crack a joke. You can still have, you know, that sort of like actiony moment where you have to chase someone or something down the street, like, you know, because that's your livelihood right there. That's the thing that's going to help you pay rent for this month. Like, you know, we all have those sort of moments, and I felt that the movie did that realistically, while also like keeping me very intrigued and you know, wanting to know what's going to happen next. But yeah, I think that's that's kind of why we went with The Pursuit of Happiness. I guess to continue talking about it, what did you oldies think of it? I know Kat has seen this one already, but Steve, you have not.
I feel like Will Smith lost me after Independence Day.
Just him in general?
Yeah,
You're
although
he's done nothing redeeming since Independence Day. Is that this conversation is taken?
well, no, Men in Black was okay, and then there was also that really good one that he did about.
Gemini Man?
Oh no, I never saw Gemini Man, and I had no intention to see it. What was the one where he was with the dog and like?
I Am Legend.
Yeah, I Am Legend, great movie.
iRobot?
Horrifying.
iRobot was fine for its time. The first time I watched it, I was like, this is good. And then I was like, I never have to watch this again. I've seen it. I've enjoyed it. I'm done. Yeah, I don't know what it is with Will Smith in these characters that does it for me, but I watched it once before and I thought it was just the worst movie ever. I was like, I hate this. It's garbage.
What?
And then I was like, okay, I'm going to give it a second chance, like with you guys. And maybe I was just in a bad mood that day. I find, first of all, I will say all of my respect goes to the man who this is based on. And I really thought it was cool that you saw him walking past them in the movie. Like for him to go through all of this and come out the way he did, he deserves all of the accolades that he probably has gotten. I maybe would have been fine reading the book that he wrote, but watching Will Smith do it, I don't know. Like, I just can't. It seems very flat. And when I say that, I just mean it felt like, and I know I've probably said it before, it felt very surface level. Like, it's just going to be pulling at your heartstrings from the second it starts to the second it ends. And there's really no depth. It's just kind of like what's happening in the moment. And that might sound crazy to some people that I see that, like that I say that. But it was just, it was also how I kind of felt. I was really excited going into seeing the Bryan Cranston and
Kevin Hart.
Kevin Hart movie, where I forget the name of the title of that one as well. But I went in there really excited to see it. And I left it thinking, yeah, that was a movie. And that was also based on real life, where the person's life, I'm sure, was way better than the movie. And maybe I'm one of those. Drama's really hard for me because I feel like I can see where people are really trying to pull you in on the heartstrings and like really trying to like create this moment. And when I feel like you're trying to create it, I don't buy into it. I buy into it when I'm like feeling like I can connect with the characters and stuff. And it was such a sad story and a good story. And I'm glad the upside. Yes, that's the other one. Thank you. It was, whereas something like The Blind Side, I really felt like it was like deeper. I don't know why. Maybe it was the acting, maybe it was something else, but I didn't hate it as venomously as I hated it the first time. And hearing you guys talk about it vehemently, whatever. Hearing you guys talk about it and why you enjoyed it, I can't believe it was shown at school. Like, what is the educational background for that? Did you have to read the book first and then you got to see it?
I think we had to do a like a critical essay on it or something like that. I think that's what I remember doing on it.
That makes a bit more sense. But yeah, it was fine. It was a movie. Will Smith was in it. But I'm really just impressed by the actual person. And I think it did show a lot of what you guys were saying, and I will appreciate it through you guys. But for me, it's a pursuit of dragging things on. The pursuit of beating a dead horse. You know what I mean? Like,
Wow. Wow.
But I tend to have really weird movie choices.
Gremlins?
So,
No, that was an extenuating circumstance. She never would have picked Gremlins if it wasn't because of the rules.
that only reason is because it's the only one Steven's seen.
It's true. I'm not,
See our other podcast for my rants on what real horror movies were about. But yeah, I mean, it was good. It was fine. It was a movie. I didn't lose any sleep over it.
I mean,
I swear I'm a positive person.
that's strong feelings. I didn't have a major problem with it. And as I said when we did Independence Day, I really like Will Smith. I guess I'm the opposite of Kat in that, because Kat feels he's done nothing redeeming in his life since 1990.
I never said that. The
That's
drama
what
that
I
he
heard.
portrayed on.
I'm pretty sure
Fresh
that I
Prince of
heard that you
Bel-Air.
hate Will Smith. I'm pretty sure that's what I heard.
I heard that.
I don't know. I think it's been out there, but he can do drama. Will Smith, that one episode with his dad, bawled my eyes out.
That one scene.
Will Smith, if you're watching this,
Yeah, if this ever crosses your desk, Will Smith, find me.
see the comment section in the bottom of YouTube, and it's like just Will
Little blue check.
Yeah, with a little blue check. Exactly.
It's just
like
Will Smith.
damn.
All he says is interesting.
With 3 dots. 3 dots. Dot, dot, dot.
No, not even 3 dots, just a period.
Just a period. That's it.
I mean, I'm sure he's a great guy.
No, Kat's just trying to dig her way out. But I thought I even thought he did a good job. I did feel like the film was like getting kicked in the teeth for 2 hours, because this guy has the worst luck. And now, again, these are the tough things about true stories, is you're never quite sure what is for effect and what is for a true story. Like, I'm sure he did sleep in subway bathrooms with his son, and I'm sure that's why it had to be included in the story, because it was sort of like, oh well, this was really important to me, you have to put this in. But they change things for narrative structure and whatnot. I do see the surface level conversation. I feel like if I had seen it when it came out, I wouldn't have made the same criticism. I think I would have just come out of it and said I liked it. Looking at it now, it would be very interesting to see them make this movie in 2021, like, quite frankly, because I feel like there would be more nuance given to the homeless population, and there would be more conversations about what it means to be a part of that population if the story was told now, or just simply told better. This is the story of a guy who did a Rubik's Cube in the back of a taxi cab and got an internship and just tried to survive until he gets the job. And I'm sure that that's the overall structure of what happened to this guy. It is an incredible story. It's an amazing story. If it were not a true story, I would think the film was not enjoyable, because I really think the fact that this is based on a true story, and the fact that even the man himself is in the film, even if he's just walking across the street, gives it that wow factor. That's what drives it home for me, is like, what am I going to criticize about the story? It's his story. I can't say, well, that's unbelievable if it happened. So I mean, but I didn't mind it. I didn't love it. If you're asking my opinion, I didn't love it, but it was also enjoyable is the wrong word to use, but I thought it was engaging enough that I could see why you guys would like it, especially with all the years that the 5 of us have been down volunteering with the homeless as well, and the stories we've heard along the way. Nothing like this, where he's worth $70 or $80 million. If
That we know of.
That we know of. That's true. Now, again, if this were not a true story, I would be very critical of that, because my argument would be that they were just saying, well, you're homeless, but if you work hard, you're going to get the job. And I think that, but that's what happened. That's exactly what happened for him. If it were not if it were not a true story, I would feel like this is ridiculous, but it is true. So I mean, it is ridiculous, but it's an amazing sort of ridiculous in that way.
I like while you were talking, I was thinking about it, and it does make me kind of look at the portrayal of homelessness and the fact that these are real issues. Like there is an overpopulation or like an underfunded area for homeless people, so they do have to start lining up. Like I remember driving down in in Toronto here and in Winnipeg, and at that time, around that time, seeing lineups that would go around the block just to get into maybe 20-bed shelters, and having to make sure that you were there on time, or like having to fight for a spot. And it also made me think of just like the invisibility of the homeless, because there are some people who are just barely getting by, and it's one thing that'll happen. You don't sell something or you don't like get something done, and then it's all over. And these children, I mean, kudos to him for keeping his son, and I'm sure they got into a lot of situations that weren't good for him, but the kids who slipped through the cracks, and I'm guessing the 80s reporting for being in school wasn't as high, or being at daycare wasn't as high, because now it's like if you're out of school for 14 days or 12 days, they call for a wellness check. But they did, for me, show like that invisibleness of homelessness, and that need to just kind of keep everything with you wherever you were going. Like he had to take his suitcase into work because he tried leaving it with someone and then it was gone, and just trying to get ready for interviews and bathing and keeping that self-respect. So in that way, I will give it like kudos to the fact that like, yeah, I could see that a person would live like that, even maybe today.
Yeah, that actually reminds me. I don't know whether it was you, Steve, or it might have been Jen, actually, who was telling us about the people along. I think it is in Florida. There's those strip motels.
Yes.
In Florida. Yeah.
Mary Downey and
did you guys end up watching that movie?
we never watched the full thing of we saw a clip. We can now. Now we could do that. What was it called? Florida Project.
Yeah.
But
You
Mary
need to
Downey,
see that.
it was a great film. Great film. And we did bring in for our conversations about that. And for those of you who are paying attention to this, we're part of a group that has visited Philadelphia and the homeless for the last decade. And part of our lead up to it, we did bring in Mary Downey, who is involved in that amazing Hope 192 ministry in Florida on Zoom. We had a conversation with her about that, about what they do down there, and it was wild.
You guys gotta take time and watch that.
I just remembered that when you were going through that, the amount of times that I was trying to tell my mother about it and said Hope 182 because it reminded me of Blink 182 is astronomical.
From the band that brought you Blink 182.
It's not a ministry. It's a revolution.
Oh man, I feel like we should just add on to the end of this and watch that all together, because it's a fictional movie. Like it's not a documentary, but it's based as closely as possible to how people actually live. And yeah, it's nuts. But yeah, it's that invisible homelessness and that person next door that could be one rent payment away from not having a place, which is really hard.
So crazy because like it actually costs more money having those people jobless and on the streets than it is giving them housing, and then giving them mental health services, and then eventually them working and contributing to society and paying taxes. It's easier, and it's this like American mentality where it's all on you, and anyone can become rich. If you're homeless, you just gotta work and you can do anything. And it's so crazy because in this movie, it takes place in San Francisco, which is now Silicon Valley, and the richest tech companies in the world are there: Apple, Tesla, Amazon, and they still have a huge homeless problem. Like there's like a skid road there, like people build tents, and like it's disgusting, and it's so crazy. It's really inhuman. Because California state, just by itself, not even the rest of America, is would be top 10 in the world for richest countries if it was by itself. And they tried solving their homeless problem by shipping all the like trying their best to ship as much homeless people as possible to Hawaii on a one-way ticket.
Oh, you were serious before?
I was 100% serious.
I thought you were joking because you wrote that in the chat.
Yeah, I was serious. They tried solving it by saying, "Here, go to Hawaii. It's great." And it's a one-way ticket. They send them over, and that was their way of trying to solve their homeless problem.
Wow.
And it's the richest state in America and one of the richest places in the world. And a lot of companies pay zero taxes. And it's crazy how like that American mentality, it's like, hey, if you're homeless, you're a problem, and it's all on you to fix it. If you're not fixing it, then you just got to go.
You know, and again, this goes back to me talking about this was a true story. This goes back to talking about whether or not it's a true story, because I'll be honest, I found that conversation not only simplistic, but really focusing on this American dream idea of like, pull up your bootstraps and you can achieve anything. But if it wasn't true, I'd be really offended by that.
Yeah.
Because it's just, I mean, from our conversations, from the people we've met, from that's just not reality. But I mean, again, this is a film focusing on the life of one man, not on the global or even the California problem of homelessness. But I bet if it were made today, that would be a much better or greater part of the story.
I definitely.
Yeah, it would be, I think, for sure. And I mean, Canada is just as bad with gentrification and pushing out the homeless and trying to just rebuild places that normal, I'll say, middle class people can't even afford. So, but they make sure to do that. They'll push people into different areas of the city, up further north, away from the areas that they're living. And even when the Pope came to Toronto, they would fill buses filled with homeless people and just ship them out so the Pope wouldn't have to see them. And that's when the destruction of Tent City started and all of that. So it's something that's a really, really big problem. And you're right, would cost the countries that people are in less to work with instead of work against. I still think Will Smith was meh.
Can I just say too, like this would have definitely been, again, we explore. I can't fault the movie for not being written now. I can't. Like, it was written in 2006. They did what they did, and it's fine. But man, they only hinted at the obvious racism that's going on within this. They barely hinted at it, except for this guy that's kept making him get him coffee. It's like,
Chris?
yeah, I need a new kidney, Chris. It was like, what? Everybody's
that he was the only intern applicant that was Black that I noticed.
Yeah.
He certainly was in that, but I'm like, that would have definitely been explored differently, again, if written today, or at least spoken of more broadly is not the term, openly, within that as well, because my gosh, that is a white room. It's like across the board.
Why don't we jump into your pick
we picked The Truman Show, which was directed by Peter Weir and stars Jim Carrey as Truman Burbank, an insurance salesman who is oblivious to the fact that his entire life is a TV show and his family members are mere actors. As he starts noticing things and uncovering the truth, he decides to attempt to escape. Laura Linney and Ed Harris are also in the film. The film is from 1998. So, Kat, what is it about this film that makes it worthy of our drama pick?
You really wanted it.
I really wanted it. That was
I was having, yeah, no, when you brought it up, I was like, oh, that is a good one because it's a drama. Okay, wait.
that was it. Kat had strong feelings about the film.
No, I know we had gone back and forth on a couple, but like this was a really important one to you. And when I thought about it, I was like, this actually is a really good one because although I probably have seen it last in 1998 or 1999 or later maybe, but I really remember it being a great film and just how he kind of has that internal struggle and they're trying to keep it together. And there's that God person who is like the one in charge of everything, in charge of the show, and just how far they'll go to keep it going. It took me 20 years. No, it hasn't been 20 years since it came out, has it? No.
23.
Oh my God, it's been 23 years. It took me 23 years to figure out the name Truman was True Man, which was interesting. But yeah, I thought it just really showed how far people will go for consumerism. And as someone who is an avid reality show watcher and very experienced in the topic, like I kind of understood it even now, like in today's time, where I was like, oh yeah, like people will just watch anything happen to anyone and can become so disassociated by it. I thought it was really rude that his wife crossed her fingers in their wedding photo, and that was like a tip to him because I'm like, come on, you can't even just like get fake married.
Or hide your hand.
Or hide your hand.
Come on.
But yeah, I'm curious to hear what others think because it was also a different one for Jim Carrey because he was usually in like The Mask and like all the funny Jim Carrey movies. And for him to go to this was a big shift, I think, from what we saw in that day and age. But I don't know what others.
It was a different style, and you're right. I was the one really sort of pushing for this one because it
was a good one.
I do think that looking at the dramas that impacted me in the 90s, this was one of the most original. Like there are a few films like this, especially back then. I mean, you could make an argument that the Hunger Games ended up kind of like this film in a weird sort of way. No, you can't make that argument. I take it back. But there was something so unique about this, and I do like not all of Jim Carrey's work, but I do like especially this era of some of his key stuff. But the film is just so original. It came at a time when reality TV was literally just starting, and I think I said to the group when we watched it that year there was another film that came out called Ed TV with Matthew McConaughey, and it was more reality TV-ish in that this guy signs on and signs his life away. This is more about somebody who is completely unaware of what's going on for their entire life.
Sounds like me.
Just like this, not many people know that Riley's living this right now, but don't tell him. But the truth, like this, there is such a complexity, I think, to the story that I appreciate, and it can be pretty dark. Like when you think about it, there's a lot of things about this film that's really, really dark. And not that I think that that's great, but I just think that's so interesting because you've got this 1950s glossed over I Love Lucy-esque lifestyle that's built on a lie. And so much of the film is so well made. And I do think the conversations around his relationship with Christoph are fascinating. Like there are so many different theories on it, whether it's whether positive or negative, whether spiritual or unspiritual. I think there's so much going on that I'm just fascinated with it. So
I liked the fact that he was kind of like breaking, when watching it for the second time, you could really see how they were working the reality show into his life, even in the fact that like when he gets stopped by people, he's pushed up against that board, and then you realize like, oh, they're advertising that chicken, or they're doing this, or the funny parts where she's like, would you like some hot cocoa? It's the creamiest cocoa. But yeah, everyone really got invested in it, and I do think it was really a different movie from its time, which is why I liked it too. Because
or there's
said,
go ahead.
You said Christoph, I thought of
Christoph
from Frozen, and I was like Christoph, but I remember who that. But yeah, I do think it was really original and really like good in that like pushing the marketing without pushing the marketing.
Or even when you talk about the marketing there, like even when they push them in there, you can see the people are trying to get into the shot more. It's sort of like they want to be on better. And it's like, but the first time you watch it, you're like, what's wrong with these guys? They're freaks. But then you realize, wow, it's so interesting to me. But to you, youngins, what did you think of the Truman Show?
I would like to give my opinion, but preface it in the fact that there is a however at the end. I really, really liked this movie, like a lot, actually, a lot more than I expected to. But it like kept me really engaged the entire time, and I was so confused at the beginning because I didn't really know what it was about, so I didn't know like that it actually was like a simulation type thing. I was just really confused for a lot of it, and slowly being able to figure out and like notice the things with him as he started to notice, and then sort of thinking back on it while the movie was going and being like, oh my gosh, yeah, there was this that happened that like I didn't even notice in like the first like little bit of the movie, right? Yeah, I found all of that really interesting. However, for me, at least, others may have a different opinion, but for me, this is not a drama. For me, it is not a drama. It is more of like a suspense sci-fi. And for that, it's just not a drama. Not to me. It's not what I think of when I think of a drama. I didn't watch it and was like, oh my gosh, this is such a cool drama. No, I was like, this is like a really cool like sci-fi suspense, almost thriller-esque, if you want to say, like a psychological sort of thing, but I would not say drama. And that was my issue with it when I left, was that I went into it expecting a drama and I did not get a drama.
It is so highly dramatic.
Okay, dramatic does not equal drama. I just want to put that out there. Just want to put that out there.
All right. Keep going then. Who I see Daniel putting his finger on his nose, and I want Daniel to
It's classified as a drama, but also / sci-fi.
I'm fine with it being a sci-fi drama. I'm saying it's a drama. It can be multiple genres, but it's not a comedy. It's not an action.
I never said it was a comedy.
Sci-fi can be a drama.
I agree that it's sci-fi. I don't agree that it's drama.
Oof.
Interesting. Because I didn't find it suspenseful. I just found it like dramatic.
Yeah. It's not a horror movie.
It's a little suspenseful. Like I can see where you're coming from.
Yeah.
Like I would classify it more under like a psychological sci-fi type thing. But like I would, for myself at least, when I think of drama, this is not it.
If this loses tonight because of a technicality,
Didn't another one we pick because it just wasn't the no, it was Gremlins. Like Gremlins just wasn't horror. Gremlins just
It's sci-fi horror comedy is what the genre
Gremlins
is.
was not a horror. I'm sorry to inform you, it was not
Gremlins
a
just
horror.
wasn't as good. Like it's the where it wasn't even a technicality. We just it was like, yeah, I
What
got
has
it.
Steve
I conjured
seen?
better. It was the only one I'd seen. Daniel, what do you think?
Well, I also really liked the movie. However, I agree with Riley. What they said about it being not a drama, I agree. There was nothing, to me, dramatic about it. It kept me on the edge of my seat because I was like, is he gonna find out that it's a fake life? Like, what's gonna happen? The sci-fi of it being that sort of, TV simulation. And then like with it being Jim Carrey, like it wasn't written as a comedy, but he still brought in comedic aspects. I wouldn't call it a comedy, but it wasn't a drama. Like it didn't pull at my heartstrings. It didn't like have me like, around every corner, like in the way that a drama should. It was a great movie.
How could you not get emotional about that final scene when he's in the boat? How could
Okay, so the one scene at the very end of the movie where again I'm more on the edge of my seat, just kind of like, ooh, what's gonna happen next? Is he gonna break free from his fake life? I don't know. It was more of a suspense. I think I even said this after we watched it, like almost thrillery, because if I'm thinking about it, like that's scary. Like if finding out my whole life is like a lie, it's fake, it's a TV show, like that's scary. I wouldn't call it a drama though, but it was really good. It was a great movie. I would definitely watch it again.
It was a really good movie. Was not a drama.
Steve's like,
what would have made it a drama
Daniel
for
and
you?
Riley back.
What would have made it a drama? Like
Storyline that was more dramatic.
I think what we really needed to make it a drama was if instead of going on the boat, he puts a fake, like a mannequin on the boat, and it's, going sailing, and the guy playing God, Christoph, is like, oh, we got him now. We're going to use the tsunami, whatever. And then he hears a gun click behind him, and it's a gun clocking. And he turns around, and it's Jim Carrey, and it's Truman. And he says,
would that be like an action movie then?
So it needed murder. That's what it needed to be a drama. It needed murder.
He says, "Who's God now?" And then
I'm the Jesus now.
you thought you could decide my life with a click of a button. Now I can decide yours. And then he shoots him in the liver, and he shoots him shoots him in the arm, and shoots him in the hand, and he's disabled, and then he finishes him off executioner style. And
that is action. That is not drama.
Wow, you've turned it into Taken. That's
for me, for it to be like a drama type thing, like it can still be like really suspenseful, but for me, a drama needs to have some sort of like heartstring type thing attached to it. For me, like it can be suspenseful, sure, but like for me, I'm expecting to come out of a drama like learning some kind of lesson or moral. Maybe that's just because of the dramas that I've seen, but that's what I expect out of a drama. When I go into a drama, that's what I'm expecting to happen.
This is a whole movie.
Thing was a moral movie.
Spiritual quest. The whole movie's a spiritual quest.
The whole movie's a quest for a girl.
True.
I love Titanic.
It's an emotional quest. The whole movie.
Break, Steve.
Okay, it's not a booty call. Come on.
No, it's
Well-
true love, but like he's starting, and then we see like the cracks.
Right.
You know?
Right. I'm stunned. I don't even understand, like the heartstrings thing. The whole movie's like, oh man.
Did not for me.
I that's fair. I'm yeah. Useless.
T, what did you think?
Ooh.
You.
Your name is JT, right?
I thought it was good. It had so much potential to be so many different things, and it felt like a Black Mirror episode, like a horror movie, more than a drama. I would have loved to see like a remade version of this, but like totally different, like go all in on action or horror with this kind of scenario. I liked it. I want to know what the director's real vision for it was, because there's so many ways you could go about what the like symbolism is. Whether it's like simulation theory or like Matrix level stuff, or is it like, you know, more on the Bible, and Christoph is either God or the devil, or is he saying God is not you know, a nice guy, essentially, like he's hitting him with natural disasters like God does in the Bible, and it makes the viewer go, oh, this guy sucks, he's gonna kill him, and then, you know, God does that all the time in the Bible. So it's like that commentary as well, and then it's like, is this like a Garden of Eden scenario, like ignorance is bliss, like you don't want to leave the garden because it's paradise, but then he became knowledgeable and he wanted to leave, even if it was like everything was catered to him. Like there's so many ways you could really go about this, whether through a Christian view, like Christian lens, or more universal simulation kind of futuristic lens. So I thought it definitely had more symbolism than, you know, what did we just watch with Gemini Man?
The
Pursuit of Happyness.
Pursuit of Happiness. Yeah.
Yeah. So I liked it for that. I I did think it was too slow, like him finding out, because it was like when it was really getting good, and he was like, okay, there's a camera there, and then I'm gonna go underground and do all this stuff. There was only 20 minutes left in the movie. I was like, oh, it's like getting really good now, and it's like over within like a couple minutes. Yeah, it was good.
You know, I had that thought watching it this time too, but what I realized is as soon as he finds out, the movie is over. Like, because if you find out, you're going to try and leave. And that once it's confirmed, he's like, it's like, let's get out of here. But Daniel, you click the raised hand emoji. So
Yes, I think based off of what I'm kind of hearing from us young people, and just kind of what I've been thinking, I guess mainly, I feel like with the Truman Show, if you change one scene, the whole aura of the movie changes. Whereas with Pursuit of Happiness, it's a drama through and through. You add in an action scene, that's great, but it's still a drama. You add in a comedic scene, that's nice, it's still a drama. But I feel like with the Truman Show, if they would have changed a scene and made it more actiony, that kind of would have shifted the whole movie, which is, I think, at least for me, why I feel like it's not a drama. specifically.
That's fair. That's fair. I'm so speechless because
I'm trying
everything
to think
else,
of what makes Pursuit of Happiness a drama then, in your
bad
opinion.
things happening to him.
I think for me, when I think of a drama, normally it kind of has to do with like a base on a real story and like, you know, people having those hardships. For me, like those are the drama movies that like I've seen and are the ones that I think of. Like my first pick for drama was Joy with Jennifer Lawrence, based off of a true story, and you know, tugs at your heartstrings, like, you know, that sort of, you know, she's going through a tough time. That's what really resonates with me and what I think of when I think of a drama. And I think like other drama movies that I've seen have all just kind of been like that.
For me, it
Oh.
doesn't have to be a real life thing, and by real life, I mean like based off of a true story. But for me, a drama needs to have that real life aspect of in the fact that it's about someone learning and growing and you're learning along with them. And granted, yes, that happens in this movie, but I mean more of like a morality type sense or like a life lesson type thing. That's what does it for the drama for me. Whereas in this one, what you're learning with this guy is that reality is fake. And for me, that's not a drama, that's a sci-fi thriller.
Yeah, but you see, like it plays out so differently than say The Matrix. Like The Matrix actually came out a year later. Like to
But
me,
The Matrix is an action. This is not an action.
that's what I mean. Yeah, but I mean the sci-fi is totally different. Like the and you could argue that they're both similar in that somebody finds out that they're living a dream, they decide to break free from that. That is implicit in, or that's embedded in both films. But everything else that JT said is, to me, what makes it a drama, because this is about one man's spiritual journey. And yes, there's the romance angle the whole way through it, but there's something deeply embedded in his character that is growing and changing. And this argument, the film isn't just about the gimmick, although the gimmick is the film. The film is about Truman and what it means to be real. Like the film to me is a coming of age drama in a lot of ways. It's not a teen drama, but it's a coming of age story, because you've got this person who doesn't even know who he is. And that's what I mean. The spiritual quest is so fascinating, because is Christoph an example? This Peter Weir, I've looked it up. Peter Weir has not said definitively what the film is trying to say. Is he a God character who is cruel? Is he a character who is not God, but believes himself to be God, and a maniac in that way? And the relationship with Truman and I forget what the woman's name is, but the woman that he's been searching for isn't necessarily the soul of the film. The soul is the relationship between him and Christoph. In fact, I think I said when we watched it, I said, man, this film would be like, I know Christians that think this is like the most Christian film of the 90s. And I know people like, but then I watch it, actually, I should say, then I watch it and I'm like, is it, or is it somebody who's very frustrated with a faith system? But there's so much there, this tension of learning how to be free and freedom. And that's why I think it leans so much more into drama, because yes, Jim Carrey is just naturally sort of a funny guy, and there are comedic moments. There can be comedic moments in a drama and it's not a comedy. There were comedic moments in Pursuit of Happyness, not a comedy. There can be sci-fi elements to it without it being strictly sci-fi. I think it has to do with the core of the movie and the purpose of it. Personally, this is where I would land. I think a drama that's a true story, absolutely dramatic, usually. But like that's the thing about this film, is to me, it's so much about this. It's a battle for the soul. And that's why I'm like, this is a dramatic film. More, is it like a traditional drama? No, I give you that. Absolutely not. Definitely sci-fi. Definitely. Could have dropped into that category, but I still I will defend it as a drama.
About it in the sense of old versus new, and maybe I'm just like talking out of my hat, but I feel like for when we were, and I most likely am, when it first came out and we were watching it, we being the old people, it was the first movie of its kind.
Yeah.
That we had encountered, and that's what made it like this big drama for us, because our sci-fi was like 100% like space, aliens, Doctor Who, like all of that kind of stuff. And even the X-Files and stuff like that, it was always about like something otherworldly or like demonic or alien, whereas these young people are coming from the generation of Black Mirror type stuff, where like this is more common, and this like psychological stuff is way more common in that, and that they've been exposed to this kind of movie a lot in a television series, in other movies, in other areas, in video games, in like everything else, right? So like I'm just saying, like, there's some video games are so much more advanced now too, right? It's not Mario in a one-dimensional hitting like a
One dimension.
but I could see why you would put I could see how you would place it in almost sci-fi, like mental kind of like thought-provoking kind of suspense type thing, because yeah, like that's a lot of what we're getting now is more the internal like drama or sci-fi, as well as opposed to the external sci-fi. Does that make sense? Like,
yeah. I never thought of the Black Mirror effect. That's very interesting. I had not considered that, but yeah.
yeah,
This is
they'd
very
all
Black
said
Mirror.
the Black Mirror thing, and I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
Daniel?
I think I might have kind of been able to do another big click on why it doesn't feel like a drama to me. And that's because with Pursuit of Happyness, the whole movie was from Chris's perspective, from his POV. Every scene he was involved in, even when it was like the scene of I don't even remember what his wife's name was. Like talking
Terrible
on
person.
the phone. Yeah, oh yes, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, like talking on the phone, like yes, he technically wasn't there with her, but it was still from his POV through that phone call. Whereas with the Truman Show, it wasn't always from his point of view. It went back and was showing Christoph and showing the people watching him, and then some of these other characters. So it was hard to kind of connect that to being so dramatic, because you know that it's fake. I don't know if that makes sense. Like it's
Yeah.
not. It's a third person POV with the Truman Show.
But it's dramatic. Does that make it not dramatic?
For me, in a sense, it does, because it's harder to connect. Like, with Pursuit of Happyness, I know that it's Chris's life, it's Chris's experience. I'm in that point of view with him. I'm in watching it. It's, I can kind of feel like, oh, I'm Chris in this situation. With the Truman Show, it's harder to do that, because one scene it's, Jim Carrey driving down the street, listening to the radio and whatever. And then it pans over to Christoph talking about, what they're going to do next. And then it pans over to the ladies in the diner watching it. So it's harder to connect and be like, oh, I can be Truman or whoever, because it's jumping around and it's not a specific like Truman's point of view the whole time.
I think I understand what Daniel's saying. I think this ties into the fact of what I was saying before, when I was saying that a drama is when it's a learning experience. And in the fact that the Pursuit of Happyness was, we were learning about Chris's life along with him. Whereas with the Truman Show, we were watching Truman catch up to us. Does that make sense?
Oh,
Okay, but I disagree with that. I
Okay.
disagree for this reason. If I hadn't told you what the film was about, or if you hadn't watched the trailer or anything like that, The film only does the interview with Christoph after they've officially revealed it. The whole film is a slow reveal. JT did say it was slow in
Yeah.
that sense, but the whole film is supposed to be jarring to the viewer. We're supposed to be learning at the same pace as Truman. Now it does pull back, absolutely.
I would say that regardless, and I'm going to put this into the fact that I literally went into this movie not knowing what it was.
Sure.
I still figured it out before Truman.
Okay.
Regardless of whether that was how it was supposed to be, for me, Truman was still catching up.
Okay.
And for me, then it wasn't like I'm learning along with him, which is what makes it that sort of like drama for me, in the fact that like you're learning with this person about their experience, and you're watching them grow, and you're kind of growing along with them, and you can like relate to the character because you're going through these things at the same pace that they are. But because for me, like in this one, we know what's happening before he does. Or at least for me, that's how I watched it. And I feel like how the majority of us here watched it. We knew what was happening before Truman did. It more felt like that sci-fi thriller, because it wasn't like us going, what is going on? It was an us going, when is he going to figure out?
Okay. I hear you. I hear what you're saying. Wow.
And it's garbage. No, I'm just kidding.
This movie's crap.
I hear what you're saying, and you're wrong.
Well, I don't. Kat may have summed it up best when she said like maybe it has to do with the familiarity too. But I totally see what you're saying. That was not my experience with the film.
In 1911, when it came out and you watched it.
When I was 21 when this movie came out. But no, in all seriousness, even though I knew what was going, I still feel like I'm right with Truman the whole way, like the viewers.
Yeah.
I feel like yes, we're waiting for him to catch up, but like the viewers at home who are watching him, and I guess that is true, they are shown earlier. They don't tell you all the ins and outs, but that is true. They do show you that earlier. I feel like, man, I just feel so connected to Truman the whole way through. Mind you, that's part of the thing about reality TV. You're supposed to feel connected to the people.
You're supposed to be able to engage.
Yeah.
And the thing that I also really like about the movie, and that is kind of proven bit by this discussion, is that I think that this is a type of movie where everyone is going to have a different experience with it, and everyone is going to have a different opinion on it, and no one can say whether one is right or wrong. Everyone is having their own experience with it, because as much as I do not think it is a drama, I can fully understand, Steve, why you think it is. I fully know why you think it is, and I feel like this is I don't know if anyone here has watched it, but I watched the new Bo Burnham special with my mom, and we got into a similar argument with that, in the fact that even though Bo Burnham is a comedian, I did not see it as a comedy special. She did. And that there was a difference there. And that was just because of the differences in experiences of how we were going into the movie. And I think it's a lot like that, in the fact that neither of us are necessarily wrong. I mean, one could say that my mother is technically correct, but that neither of us are necessarily wrong, or in terms of this, like neither group is wrong in terms of whether they think it's a drama or not. It's just the way that we experience the movie, and I really like that because it makes these good discussions.
Oh, and yeah, and it's so funny we're focusing on this aspect. This is like the last thing I expected us to focus on, but you're right. You're absolutely right. I just didn't expect you guys to negate it as a drama. That was the last thing I expected. So,
what can we say? Keeping you on your toes. You got to keep your mind engaged as you get into old age, Steve. So we got to keep you on your toes.
Appreciate that. I appreciate that, Dave.
Close.
Well, having said this, let's throw the films head to head. Pursuit of Happyness versus The Truman Show. What are your picks?
If it was a head-to-head as to which one I liked more, it would have been The Truman Show. However, I am judging this based off of what I think is a drama.
Oh,
therefore, I'm
come
going
on.
with The Pursuit of Happiness.
He's gonna edit this so that we're all saying The Truman Show.
If it was going off of what I liked, it was The Truman Show. And if it was going off of what is a drama, it would be The Truman Show. Yeah.
So what's your pick,
Pursuit of Happiness.
Good, yeah.
Kat?
Oh, well, you know, as Will Smith's biggest fan, I'm going to go with The Truman Show.
Daniel?
Same with Riley. If it's based off of what it was a more fun movie, no, The Truman Show. But this is the drama category, and Pursuit of Happiness brought the drama.
Wow.
Well, because it's a drama, it's The Truman Show for me all the way. Even though I actually quite liked The Pursuit of Happiness, but to me, it's like nowhere near in the same ballpark. I just think Truman Show is such a great film. All right, Jason, it's on you, man.
I mean, both were really good.
You can pick.
Like,
You're just gonna make two of us very angry. Whoever whatever. No,
I mean, I like Pursuit. It's very raw, and like, you know, it just sometimes in life you just get beat down over and over, and there's no lesson. It's just life attacking you, and you trying to make a life out of it. So it's very inspiring, and you know, rags to riches and all that. Who doesn't want that? But then from like after like reviewing so many films and like trying to see like what's the message, what's the symbolism, what's the theme, I feel like The Truman Show had just so much more to say to it. And maybe I mean, there could be so many different possibilities with that kind of storyline too, like from a creative perspective. And like it could really be a mini series, or like, I don't know, or an interactive movie, who knows. So much potential, and it was really good what they did. And it was gonna be my choice, but then they, you know, Riley and Daniel brought up some good points about it being, you know, maybe it's like 99% drama, but like it's still not 100% drama.
Wait.
I reject that statement.
It's not a 100% drama. It's just 99%.
It's
Listen, Steve.
well, think about wait.
Steven.
Well, think about it. If you have a pizza and it's 99% pizza, but 1% pile of poo, are you gonna eat the pizza?
You get around the poo.
First of all, that doesn't even make sense. So are you saying that your pick is Pursuit? Is that your pick?
My pick, well, it was gonna be Truman Show, but I think I'm so stumped, I'm not gonna vote for either.
Oh no!
Oh no!
No, you don't get to back out.
No. You can't be Switzerland. That's
I'm choosing to piss no one off.
Well, now you've just pissed everyone off.
Yeah, now you pissed us all off. Pick JP.
Oh. Are you actually ending with that? Is that where you're landing with this?
It'll be our first draw. You know, it'd be easier if it was a 100% drama movie, you know.
I can't explain the type of thing I'm seeing.
Come back next week when nothing gets picked. Tune in next week for JT to not choose another movie.
You know what's hilarious is that we picked 7 categories with the deliberate intent of like it can't end in a tie. Now
Yeah.
it ended a tie.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Listeners, Help us.
Oh my word. On that note, I want to thank everybody who listens. I can't even get the words out. I want to thank everybody for listening in this week, and we will be back next week with our second to last, maybe third to last, who knows, episode. Next week we are talking about coming of age or teen films, with our second to last pick, and I'm looking forward to that as well. So thank you all for being a part of this, and I appreciate it. And a reminder, and for you at home, I can't even get the words out anymore. It doesn't matter if you missed the movies. It only matters if it matters to you.